The Alpha Sessions with Alan Joyce.
With me in the studio today, I'm very pleased to be welcomed by Sätilä. Welcome to Radio Brockley and the Alpha Sessions.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming down. Really interesting story that we're going to speak to you about because you've been moving around a lot.
A little bit.
You were born in Finland.
Yes.
Since moved to Australia and have ended up here now in London. So how has the journey taken you here to London?
I feel like it's always been music that I've kind of chased. So when I moved to Australia when I was 20, I was kind of struggling with, what is music in my life and what am I going to do with it? And I had kind of died to the dreams of like making music for a living and stuff. And then I moved to Australia, and that was a really encouraging experience. And I kind of brought that dream back to life and went back home and started releasing music. I lived there for maybe 5 years. And then I just felt like I wanted to see what London can kind of bring. And I guess, because Finland is quite... it's a quite separated area, like even like geographically, it's very separated by the sea, the Baltic Sea, and obviously like music industry is not as massive like compared to Sweden, for example, which is our rival. So I guess I kind of wanted to go into the like the bigger world, and obviously London is one of the global centers for music, so. Yeah. So
it's brought you a lot more opportunities in presumably in terms of recording and gigging, has it, than what you had back at?
I feel more than that. I feel like it's been kind of liberating to see all kind, like going to shows and like seeing different kinds of music. I have collaborated with a couple of people here as well, but I think mostly it's kind of influenced and kind of inspired me, and also liberated me from like I guess just like freed me to just try stuff and like not take it too seriously. Do you know what I mean? Like just like, for example, on the album that is hopefully coming out this year, there are tracks that are like from my alternative rock background, and kind of like more it's not the popular sound, so I'm not chasing the trends, so to speak, and London kind of helped me get free from that idea of
that's interesting,
being like trying to follow some sort of a trend or something.
So what sort of music did you grow up listening to in Finland then?
Well, first, I didn't have like a big brother or something that I would learn like Metallica or something classic like that. So I listened to quite a lot of pop. But then when I got older, I started to listen to a lot of alternative music. Muse was massive for me, and then kind of Biffy Clyro came along, and then also like some of the Finnish alternative rock bands, and Mew from Denmark, and a lot of American bands.
So it's mainly rock, you would say, is the sort of the big music style in Finland, is it, really?
Well, at that time, I think alternative rock was doing actually really well. So the bands that I listened to, they were like charting, which was really odd. But it was still very much a kind of a counterculture thing, and I kind of... that felt really... that was kind of like part of my identity as well. Like I didn't want to be the person who's listening to all these like classic rock or like, like the kind of standard rock bands that people would listen to when they're 15. But I wanted to be kind of different from that, and hence I found like all this kind of alternative movement. And
so you started writing songs apparently at the age of 7, is that right?
Yeah.
So how did it all start for you?
I started, I guess when I was like little, I was just playing instruments, and I was constantly like interested in music and playing music. And then my parents put me to piano lessons when I was 7, and I wasn't really interested in like learning scales and like learning the classical pieces, but what was more inspiring for me was the fact that I could create something of my own, and it was kind of a way for me to express myself, and that's why I kind of started to write these like so-called songs, and that's where it started. I was just copying my favorite bands, and then eventually kind of found my own ways of writing music. And obviously it's taken years for that to kind of develop. Like it takes repetition.
Yeah. And I mean, tell us about some of the early songs that you put together. I mean, do you remember all these songs that you were writing when you were 7 years old?
No, they weren't really good.
You're not going to release any of them now, no?
No, thankfully I don't even have them anywhere. Actually, I might have some somewhere in the archives or something. But I do remember, like, I was stealing from my like English book, like when we start learning English when we're 9, so
Right.
we're at 3rd grade in Finland, and I was stealing the textbook stories like Goldilocks and stuff, and like just because I couldn't really like, you know, I couldn't really write a lot of like proper sentences and stuff, so I was just like, yeah, just copying.
So even some of the early stuff you were writing was in English then?
Yeah, I
when
think
it wasn't, obviously you weren't speaking a lot of English presumably at that
yeah,
stage.
I mean, yeah, we have a lot of international friends, like family friends. So I was around English from an early age, and I was really interested in that language. And yeah, I think my first songs were in English, actually, like proper songs that I recorded at home and then sent them to like friends and stuff. And yeah, I actually have to find them out somewhere because
Dig them
like,
out.
Yeah.
So your family somewhere, maybe along the line, have got them, I've got them saved somewhere to dig out.
Somebody's going to use them against me, you know.
At an embarrassing birthday party
yeah.
or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I mean, at what stage did you decide you wanted to make that your main thing, your career?
Well, to be honest, I'm still kind of in a flux with that, because it's obviously really hard, especially with, you know, the amount of music that is released now and streaming and all that. Even though it is possible for kind of, you don't need a label necessarily to a certain extent, which you can kind of criticize that view as well. But technically, it is possible for you to become like a kind of middle class artist in the current age. But I remember when we had an alternative rock band when I was 15, and that kind of dissolved when I was 18, and that was the time when I was like really like I want to do this, like I was going for it, and then I guess Australia kind of revived that dream after a couple of years when I was like struggling with that. And then since then I've been just making music on the side, so I've been, you know, studying business and all sorts, and working, and kind of it's been a side hustle, and it still is, and hopefully one day it might turn into a full-time job. But even if it doesn't, I still have to, like, I think the main thing is to like make music because you like making music, and perform, even if it's just for a few people, or just because you love doing that. And with like the recent realization that I had back home, we played a band show after like 18 months or something. And I just realized how much I loved doing that, just like making music and playing music together with like human beings, and then having an audience and having that interaction.
Love, you only notice all my flaws, scars. I never said I had no scars. You and me, we used to be so good together, together. Now I need you to leave. I want you out of my life, my life, my life. I want to fall out of love, love. I want to fall out of love, love. Pain, I know it heals me in the end. Hurt, I've learned to love it when it hurts. I embrace every ache, but I need you out of my mind, my mind, my mind. I want to fall out of love, love. I want to fall out of love, love. Let me fall to the bottom of love. Let me fall, I'll go all the way. Let me fall to the bottom of love. Let me fall, I'll go all the way. Let me fall to the bottom of love. Let me fall, I'll go all the way. I want to fall out of love, love. I want to fall out of love, love.
The Alpha Sessions with Alan Joyce.
How have you found going solo or having been in a band before? Do you miss being part of a band?
Yeah, I do, because it's, I mean, on the other hand, that it is kind of easier because you can make
You don't
all
have
the
to argue
decisions.
with anyone. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. It's just like tell them what to do.
Yeah.
Although I do with this, when we were recording these songs and when I was like working with other people, and I had my mates play drums and guitars and stuff on the album, and I wanted them to bring I trust them, and I know that they're great, musicians, and they have great ideas, so I wanted them to contribute as well. I think that's very valuable, because no one can do it alone.
So do you see yourself in the future potentially sort of having a band again? And obviously you've got a band that travel with you, as you say, for your solo stuff. But
Yeah, I wish to do more band stuff. I wish I had more money to bring in the guys every now and again to London, for example, to do band shows, because I think that would make a good impression as well, because it's so different to playing solo, and you can't really play the songs in the way that they're going to be on the album. But yeah, I do love working with people. I think it's a lot more fun than just going to a venue by yourself and like be the weird Finnish guy. Yeah.
So tell us, because whilst you were in Australia, you studied songwriting out there, didn't you? So I mean, how did that sort of change your style of songwriting?
I think that helped me a lot to actually, for the songwriting to kind of become more structured and kind of like, I guess, kind of, you could say commercial, I guess, in a way. It's like we learned, some tricks for like melody writing or lyric writing, and then like structures, and you kind of learn these different ways of looking at songs, and then obviously you can break the rules once you know the rules. But I think that really helped me, better my songwriting.
So what's your process now? Do you always start with a melody or lyric and then work the melody into the lyric, or how does it work for you?
Quite often for me it works. I just start fiddling with the guitar or piano, and then come up with some sort of chord progression or something that kind of gives me a feeling, and then I start singing like over it. And for me, it's usually melody first,
right? And
lyrics are definitely my kind of the tricky part that I'm not that good at. I think that at least it's the part that I need to work on more. But I just love good melodies. Like even if I hear a new song, I always listen to the melody first, and then maybe, figure out what it's talking about.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of people, I guess, they have an idea in their head of a subject that they want to write about, and then compose a melody to it. Whereas actually, you're doing it almost the other way around. You've got a melody, and you've got to try and think of a subject to go around the melody.
Yeah, I think they call it the Swedish school of songwriting.
Is it?
Yeah, it's very much from the Max Martin kind of world, I think. But I mean, sometimes, the best situation is when you have them both at the same time. So like you're just like singing something and then you get words for it, because usually then they kind of they become like they're just glued together, and then it just works. And it might be a hook, and it's just like, oh, that's just damn good, and that's when you know you have something.
So for any sort of artists who are maybe just starting out in their journey, listening to this right now, what sort of couple of tips would you give to any songwriters who are just starting out the journey? Any sort of advice for them?
I think you just need to do it a lot and repeat the process, and then like not get like if you get stuck, just like do something else, like start another song or a song idea, or listen to, like if you get into a writer's block, it's just like listen to something, like listen to different kinds of music, or go to a show or something that might actually help you kind of release from it, and then just like keep writing. And sometimes, I mean, songs have different kinds of like every song is a different process. So like some songs might, you start it and then you finish in 15 minutes. Some songs might take years. So I think it's like finding what the song needs, I think. And also just, asking other songwriters to help and that kind of stuff. I don't know if that, hopefully that helps someone.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned there about going to gigs that might sort of give people ideas. I mean, Can you remember sort of a single gig that you've been to that's kind of made you think, well, that's what I want to do, that's particularly inspired you? I
remember I saw 2010. I saw U2, and I thought that was fantastic. That was the 360 tour. But then last year, obviously, like Tame Impala, I just love that guy.
They're brilliant, aren't they? Yeah.
He's a genius. Like it's ridiculous. And I saw them last year at Flow Festival in Helsinki, and with their visuals and everything is such a I can't wait for their album to be out like in 2 weeks. Like it's going to be sick.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Love the latest track. And talking of latest tracks, as we're recording this, you have a brand new song actually out today.
Yes.
So tell us a bit more about what the track's about.
Yeah. Well, Slow Down is I co-wrote the song with a French guy who lives in Finland, and it was a year ago, and it was kind of the start of January, and everyone was kind of, everything's kind of still slow and starting to pick up, and I love that time of the year because you actually get to stop and I guess think about your previous year, and then like look ahead, what's going to happen, what are your dreams and what are your hopes for the next year, and I think that's what we tried to capture in the song, that it's literally like stopping. And we use imagery like snow, and because like in Finland when it's winter, everything kind of slows down, and everything's a little bit trickier, especially if there's snow, and people are very different. Obviously, because of the darkness, people are very different creatures compared to like summertime. It's like almost like two different kinds of people.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that because like I think we need. Especially because the world it feels like it's going crazier and crazier, and it's getting busier. I think we humans need times when we just like stop, and I don't think we can actually see what we're doing unless we stop every now and again and kind of like look at it from a different perspective. And yeah, that's basically what the song is about.
Been fighting as a blind man, missing what I want, what I need. Would I nail it if I could see? What if it's an option to quit the life I always hated? Is it failing if I did? Oh, and when it starts to snow, I can run without a sound. Oh, we're locked inside our homes, hoping the world would slow down. I'm so tired I should daydream. Didn't think I had the time anymore. I've got visions to make up for. I may have taken wrong turns, missing what I want, who I am, but I'm starting to see again. Oh, and when it starts to snow, I can run without a sound. Oh, we're locked inside our homes, hoping the world would slow down. Don't wake me up from a dream. I'm loving what I feel, and it's more than enough. Join this reverie, feel time cease to be, and we are more than enough. Oh, and when it starts to snow, I can run without a sound. Oh, we're locked inside our homes, hoping the world will slow down. Oh, and when it starts to snow, I can run without a sound. Oh, we're locked inside our homes, hoping the world will slow down.
The Alpha Sessions with Alan Joyce.
So let's talk now about gigging again. We touched on it briefly already, but I mean, obviously you played gigs over here and you played gigs back in Finland. How do the audiences compare out of interest between the two?
I feel like in London the audience is a bit more kind of responsive. Finnish audiences tend to be more kind of quiet and sometimes a bit awkward, like they might not clap when I was at a show a couple of weeks back when I was in Finland and nobody clapped when the artist came on stage, which was really weird because like I got used to the fact that in London everybody's always like cheering when the artist gets on, and you know, little things like that, and I feel like, well, I guess maybe it's got to do with my music, but I feel like people tend to listen quite intensely at my shows as well, and sometimes that's like, it's kind of makes me very self-aware and it's kind of like, what the heck is going on? Like, why is nobody like?
I was going to say, is that the perfect gig for you? Because a lot of artists obviously dream of that gig where everyone's completely silent and they're totally focused on what you're doing. Or do you find that a bit too much in a way?
No, I do love that. Some shows in London, I am just like so annoyed that people pay, I don't know, 15 to 30 pounds and they're like just making noise and like disturbing everyone else. Yeah. So I don't want that for my shows. But I guess, well, obviously solo shows are very different, but especially with the band, I would love people to, you know, move and dance and, you know, I guess just live out a little bit while they're listening, obviously. But
is it harder for new artists maybe in Finland as well? I mean, there's obviously a lot of kind of new music gigs over here for London that are free. I mean, is that sort of opportunity back in Finland as well for new artists?
I don't feel like it's happening as much as here. I feel like the industry is probably a bit more slow in Finland, and obviously because it's smaller, quite a lot of artists know each other, and then like everybody's pretty close, and like nobody's really too far from any of the labels or like even the major labels. So because it's smaller, there's not that much hierarchy.
Yeah.
And also, I guess that's part of our kind of culture as well, that we're like pretty equal. Like that's.
So it's quite a lot of community feel, I guess, amongst the artists in Finland.
I think so, especially, within like certain scenes, and once you get into a scene and like start to get familiar with people, then certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what, I mean, is there anywhere in the world that you've kind of thought, I'd love to play that as a venue? Like in a dream scenario, where would be the ultimate place that you'd like to play?
That is a good question. I'm trying to think whether it's like, Hollywood Bowl or the O2 in London. But there's a club in Helsinki called Tavastia, which is one of the oldest rock clubs in Europe.
Right.
And it's a very kind of, every Finnish musician wants to play a sold out headline show at Tavastia, because it's like playing Brixton Academy in London, or
It's iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I definitely want that to happen in the next 5 years.
Okay.
Because that would personally, for me, that would mean a lot.
And if you could collaborate with anyone, I mean, if you were going to do this dream gig at that venue, and you could have anyone on the bill with you, who would you put on with you?
Oh wow!
Maybe even play alongside.
I mean, I would just love to do anything with Kevin Parker and Tame Impala, to be honest. But I think that would be a very weird experience, as in like opening up for him or something like that.
Well, he'd open up for you, surely. Let's dream big here.
Yeah. But that would be great. I also love Lykke Li from Sweden. That would be great. Foster the People from the States. Inspiring.
In terms, you were talking before about other sort of, Finnish acts and the fact that you all support each other and stuff. Are there any other sort of up and coming acts that we should listen out for over here in terms of Finnish artists?
There's several. There's a rock band called The Holy. They just did a KEXP, or they did the show in Iceland last November at Iceland Airways, but that is on YouTube as of yesterday. Definitely worth checking that out. It's a very kind of, it's like a noise wall that just like comes over you. So like definitely go see them live, and they have a new record coming out soon. There's like an indie electronic folk duo called Lake Johns.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really cool. And also a female artist called Peura, which is deer in Finnish.
Okay.
So Peura.
I'm writing this down.
Yeah, she's independent, and she just opened up for another Finnish artist called Alexandra, who's playing this Sunday actually in London. And she's doing a couple other like opening things, and like having a little bit of a moment, I think, now. And like it's kind of like, it's just, I'm so happy for her, and the whole band. Yeah,
brilliant. I will listen out for them. So for you, what lies ahead this year? What have you got planned for 2020?
I'm gonna be releasing a lot more music. So I have an album ready, and I'm just trying to figure out how to get it out, and when to get it out, and how to trying to be like strategic about it. But definitely doing more, like releasing more music, and I also hope that I get to do some shows with the band, so more of those. Whether that's going to be in the UK, I don't know. That's probably going to. There's a lot of questions for that.
You got to make it happen. We want to see it.
I definitely. Yeah.
Well, I hope so.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. Let's fingers crossed for that. And for anyone listening to this who wants to find out more about you, where can they go?
Well, you can go to satylamusic.com, or any of the socials. Just type in Sätilä Music, and that's me.
Satila.
Yes.
There we go. So yeah, brilliant. So do check out the new stuff. It's sounding absolutely brilliant. I've got it on in the car, and it's sounding great. Thanks so much for coming down.
Thanks for having me. It was really, really nice.
I keep hiding from the sight of your love, from the sight of your love, 'cause it's burning everything on the inside, everything on the inside. I look up every now and again, but I find no rest from the greatest pain. I know I need to grow. I'm just hoping in the end I can trust you. In the end I can love like you do, like you do, like you do, love like you do. I can't stand it if I end up alone, if I end up alone, 'cause it would mean I couldn't change after all, I couldn't change after all. I can run for the rest of my life, but I won't know love if I don't even try to see and forgive. I'm still hoping in the end I can trust you, in the end I can love like you do, like you do, like you do, love like you do. Like you do, like you do, like you do, love like you do. I will not resent, I will let you love me. Me